Peace family, this is King L Bay, back to you once again. Gonna drop another video for you so you can catch some of this information so we can go on to another. I'm finna do a series of videos and start getting back on to what I do, so let's get busy. We're gonna go over the Constitution. So we're going to talk about this, family, as it relates to this information, right? Now, Article 3, Section 2, right? Judicial power. Judicial power shall extend in all cases of law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States and treaties made or which shall be made under the authority to all cases affecting ambassadors or other public ministers and councils, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction. So this is what you're talking about, right? So how do they get jurisdiction and how do they bring the law to sea onto the land? Through the post office, family, through the post office. Everything is dealing with shipping and handling. You're doing a lot of the shipping back and forth. That's how they brought the law of the sea, through the post office. So let's go on to this, right? In cases affecting ambassadors and other public ministers, a counselor and councils, and those in which a state shall be a party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In cases affecting ambassadors and other public ministers and councils. So we got to understand what is a public minister as it relates to the jurisdiction. Let's go here. Let's find out some of these definitions. Public, relating or belonging to an entire community, state, or nation. So they call them a nation state when you make a certain declaration of your nation state and you put together your nation state and you self-identify and you adopt treaties, right? So it says public, the people of a nation or community as a whole. A crime against the public, right? So you got to understand, when you commit a crime, you commit a crime against the public, right? So when y'all go into court talking about who is the injured party, understanding that you became a part of a society and that you agreed by implied contract to follow these laws. A place open or visible to the public, in public. Now, y'all need to understand this, right? The straw man is a creature of the public in which you have possession of. That is property. That's an estate. Do you understand that? Because it's a creature of the state. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's an estate. It's intellectual property that was given to you and you are in possession of it. It's an estate. I don't care what you want to call it. You could call it an inlegus or whatever. The thing about it is, it's subject to the jurisdiction because it was created from that jurisdiction. Do you understand that? And they merged it, in which you don't know how to show the difference in operation, and then they start looking at activities that you've been doing to make such determination if you're in the federal zone. So y'all need to understand that. I'm not going to make these videos long. I'm going to educate you so you can understand, to stop doing some of the buffoonery that some of us doing because we don't understand the mechanics and how law is supposed to operate. Come on, let's continue. King L Bay. Alright, so we went from public ministers, so we got to go here. What is a a nation-state actor. In United States law, a state actor is a person who is acting on behalf of a government body and therefore is subject to limitations imposed on government by the United States Constitution, including the 1st, 5th, and 14th Amendments, which prohibit the federal and state governments from violating certain rights and freedoms. Okay? So these government actors, okay, the Constitution put limitations on them. So let's talk about a nation state as it relates to this, right? A nation state is a political unit where the state and nations are congruent. The state and nation is congruent. It is more precise concept than country. It's a more precise concept than country, since a country does not need to have a predominant ethnic group. A nation, in the sense of a common ethnicity, may include a more diaspora or refugees who live outside of the nation. I want y'all to see this. Refugees who live outside of the nation state. Some nations of this sense do not have a state where that ethnicity predominates. In more general sense, a nation state is simply a large political sovereign country or administrative territory. So, let's talk about what is an international organization. International organization. Definition. An international organization, institution drawing members from at least 3 states, having active activities in several states. No. An international organization is an organization established by a treaty. Hold on, let's go here once again. This is what I like. An international organization is an organization established by a treaty or other instruments governed by international law and imposing its own legal personality. I want y'all to understand this. Imposing its own legal personality, such as the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and the NATO. International organizations are composed of primary member states. This is what I want y'all to understand. Composed of primary member states, but may also include other entities such as other international organizations. Additionally, entities may hold observer status. Do you understand what I'm saying, family? An international organization is an organization established by treaty or other instruments governed by international law. Okay? And possessing its own legal personality. That is very important. Such as the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and the NATO. International organizations are composed of primary member states, but also include other entities, such as other international organizations. Additionally, entities may hold observer status. So what is an observer status as it relates to this? I'm going to break some of this stuff down, make this video kind of short. Definition. Observer status, okay, United Nations. The United Nations generally has a granted observer status to international organizations, entities, and non-member states to enable them to participate in the work of the United Nations General Assembly through with limitations. Though with limitations, the General Assembly determines the privilege it will grant to each observer beyond those laid down in 1986 Conference of Treaties between states and international organizations. Exceptionally, the EU was 2011 granted the right to speak in debates, to submit proposals and amendments, the right of reply, to raise points of order, and to circulate documents, etc. As of May 2011, the EU was the only international organization to hold these enhanced rights, which has been likened to the right of full membership, sort of the right to vote. So you got to understand what's going on, family. So observation status may be granted by the United States General Assembly resolution. The status of permanent observer is based purely on practice of the General Assembly, and there are no provisions for it in the United Nations Charter. The practice is to distinguish between the state and non-state observers. Okay? We're not going to get into this all like that, but this is a little bit to keep these videos short. So let's go here. Let's go here. Now let's go to Black's Laws, and let's look up some of this stuff as it relates to nation, right? Nation, a large group of people having a common origin, language, and tradition, and usually constituting a political entity. So what is the political entity? The organization, right? How it's organized and it's set up political boundaries and political subdivisions on certain issues, rights, and everything associated with that. And it's these politics that we're talking about is dealing with estates and controlling rights of property. I want y'all to get this through y'all head. You have to have an industry, because we're talking about producing things, goods and services, and which are connected to an estate, and who has the right of usage. Y'all got to get this through y'all head, man. When a nation is coincided with a state, is coincided with the state, the term nation state is often used, also term nationality. So when there's a merger between the nation and the state, what is the state? The nation is the people of the national origin, and then they create a what? A organization, right? They create an international organization. That is the merger. And the politics on how they're going to do certain things and rights associated with the people in that organization. Coincided. So when they coincide, right, you got to understand that they merge. The nation and the organization become one and the same. Let's continue to go. Let's look at, we're going to keep the video short, and let's look at the etymology of state, and let's look at activities. I want to talk about activities too. The state circumstances, position in society, temporary attributes of a person or thing, condition from Old French, position, condition, status, stature, station, and directly from status, a station, position, place, way of standing. So when we talk about way of standing, we're talking about legal standing. So we're talking about having a legal personality. What is the legal standing associated with everything is dealing with property rights. That's why the will is the most important document, because it's going to govern how an estate can be treated, or how a state can be governed under that jurisdiction of that body politics, and the laws associated with that, and the rights that the organization come together to make uniform for the control of these estates. So you got to understand this, how this stuff works within the jurisdiction. Posture, order, arrangement, condition, figuratively standing, right, rank, public order, community organization. You got to understand. Now of action from past participle stem of stare to stand, right? So you got to understand, to stand, to make or be firm. You got to have legal standing, family. Dealing with the operations of the states, of an estate, you got to determine who has the jurisdiction and control over that property. That's what it boils down to. Who has the rights, control over the property. That's what the status is dealing with. Let's go. Activity. Active or secular life. I want y'all to understand, when God said you should be in the world but not of it, all your states is state ofs. State of New York, state of Texas, state of Ohio, state of California, state of New Hampshire, state of Louisiana, state of Kentucky. You understand? The state of. So when you of the state, what do that mean? You were created from it. You're of it. You are one and the same. You are of your parents, of their same bloodline. You can't separate it. That is your bloodline. That's who you are. So when you are a creature of the state or creature of Congress, of these elements, you are of it. You got to come out of it. Meaning state of being active, brisk, liveliness, recorded from 1520s. That of the capacity of acting on matters is from the 1540s as an educational exercise. So I just want to let y'all to understand, when we talking about commerce, they're talking about when you of the state and you're doing activities that's within their jurisdiction, making these minimum contacts. They looking at the activities. What they mean that you have control over properties or activities within the jurisdiction, and that they govern. So you need to understand this in totality. So I'm trying to make these videos short. So we're going to look at declarations, and we're going to look at declarations as it relates to the treaty handbook. Let's go to the treaty handbook, and let's look at declarations. Let's go to, I think it's 16. Let's go to the treaty handbook. Let's go to the treaty handbook. I want to go back. I think it's Declaration 16. So let's go back down. We are here. Declarations. See the model instrument of declarations in Annex 6. I'm not going to go through all of that. I'm just going to try to make it short. This is the United Nations Treaty Handbook. So, a state may make a declaration about its understanding of a matter contained in or interpretation of a particular provision in a treaty. Interpretative declarations of this kind, unlike reservations, do not purport to exclude or modify the legal effects of a treaty. The purpose of interpretive declarations is to clarify the meaning of certain provisions of the entire treaty. So, y'all need to understand, when we're talking about certain declarations and what you're coming under, in order for you to accede to a lot of Moors are doing this, claiming the rights of indigenous people as it relates to jurisdiction. The issue is that the United States have not acceded to that treaty, so it can't be used in the United States. But if you are a nation that has acceded to that treaty, right, you have the rights over whatever you are doing, right, within the estates. So you have to have an organization on paper, proof of everything, and how you're controlling your estates. That is done on another matter within the masterclass in which I will be dropping. So everybody get ready for the masterclass. This is King L. Bay giving you more information, more knowledge. So let's keep it rolling. Peace and love, everybody. I'm done. I'm out.